Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, the 10 slowest depreciating SUVs, Jenna and Liza are Luminaries, the Bishop Trip Rover recap, and I get a new forklift. And now, without further delay, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Beres, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm the 77 horsepower to Steve Hunt's 626 horsepower. I'm the barely adequate host of podcasting, Ike Goss. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike. Well, this week in the news, we're back to the Royal Rover review, as this is fast becoming the year of the Royal Land Rover. The whole lineup of Royal Land Rovers has been, it's been announced and talked about. Obviously, Mike Bishop was here last week talking all about it, but our friends over at the Motor Authority have posted some photos of the Pebble Beach Royal Family Land Rovers that are going to be up at the old Pebble Beach deal. So you can actually see some of the cars, and this is pretty neat. Obviously, that little burgundy Series 1 with the little Pope Mobile sort of back on it, that one we've seen at the British Motor Museum. That's a pretty cool one. I like that one a lot.
Well, that one is I believe, a different actual vehicle to the one that is at the British Heritage Motor Museum.
Oh, it's not the same one. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I believe this one was used on a different tour.
I
it
see.
is the same type of vehicle, same general specification,
Right.
etc. It has the,
Living room
hubcaps and the chrome bumpers and,
Yep.
these sorts of things. However, it is a different specific vehicle than the one that's at the British Heritage Motor Museum. Same model.
And then there's the 54 green Series 1 that was the sort of review car, the World Tour, the Commonwealth Tour review car, which is super cool. I really like that one. That's got the seats in the back and the, all that neat sort of stuff. I mean, it is
a capstan winch in case the queen gets stuck.
I like that very much. Like, I'd like to see the queen out there sort of winching, or Prince Philip out there winching them out of something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Then the 58 Series 2 version of the sort of Series 1, burgundy with the Pope Mobile back in it, which is very cool. Kind of a
that one has a special grill, and I have a spare one of those grills.
I know you do. I like that grill. What's the origin of that grill? It's sort of, is it Australian or something? Like, where did you get your grill?
My grill was behind an old workshop in California, and I do not know how it came to be there. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was on a rack with a bunch of other grills, and it just happened to be there. But that grill was used on the Royal Review vehicles, and it was also used on some vehicles that were sold in Iceland, of all places. So I don't really know much beyond that.
Wow. Yeah, it's cool.
Kind of interesting.
It is. It's a weird looking grill. It's neat, though.
It's cast aluminum and it's polished, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's very heavy, but in terms of its style, it looks very much like the Series 3 grill, which would come out over a decade later.
That's right.
And so the Series 3 grill, obviously, if you're familiar, is plastic, but it has that same like Land Rover logo at the top and the same like section profile.
Kind of,
Yeah. So it sort of is the precursor to the Series 3 grill, which lasted a very long time. So that is kind of an interesting feature of that. And speaking of Series 3s, the next vehicle that they're going to put on display is a Series 3.
That's right.
109 wagon. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a Series 2A 109 wagon that's been updated with a Series 3 front end.
That's right. Yeah. And does it have any other Series 3 sort of accoutrement? It has Series 2A door hardware.
It's got the fenders. It's got the grill. It does have a number of like Series 3 update features, and they've also removed the sun sheet because apparently there is no sun in England.
Yeah, you don't need that. You don't need the sun sheet. Yeah, it looks like a military car because it has the sun sheet removed, but it's not the military roof. It's the civilian roof just with the sun sheet stripped off, which is an interesting. Yeah, you don't really see cars like that. It's yeah, it's an interesting car. It's the, military green, sort of standard military green, but is this the gun bus one? Is this the one that has
It
the
isn't.
all the
No,
no,
I
this is
think
a
the
different one.
gun bus one is like the one that Prince Philip was
Oh, yeah, it was
laid
buried
to
in.
rest in. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which he's gonna be on display at Pebble Beach,
He will
so
also be on display. Yeah, that's
get
right.
on down there.
Oh, you
Yeah.
gotta get that, yeah, before he gets too dried out. And then the '74 Range Rover, again, Pope Mobile edition, the same again, it's that same burgundy, the red stripe. It really is the progression of
That's the
that.
royal
Yeah.
color. You gotta have
Ah,
that when
it's
you're
so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. And to have all 3 of those cars, like, in the same place, this is really neat, like, all the Pope Mobile versions of the cars. It's really cool. Well, did they ever do a Series 3
if you like
version
to
of it?
stand in the back of a car and wave at
Oh,
crowds of
man,
people,
there's just
this
no
is a
better.
real opportunity.
I like that the rail that the queen holds is even wrapped in a fine leather, and her hand can't touch
You
it.
can't just have her touching just bare metal. What are you
Oh, no.
thinking?
Oh my god, no. It's really nice. This looks very cool. I'm into that. That's a cool one. And then finally, we end up with her very own 110.
Yeah.
The V8 110 that Mike was talking about, that she herself would drive around the estate, and it too has the sun sheet stripped off of it.
Is it well,
And it's got the
it wouldn't have a sun sheet, right? Because it's a
no, no,
110.
no, no, it wouldn't have a sun sheet.
Uh,
And
now
it's got the dog guard in the back, so she could have 1,500 corgis back there.
there's kind of a famous story about the queen driving around some Middle Eastern king. I don't know if it was like Saudi Arabia or Jordan or something like that, and he was like appalled that a woman would be driving, and she like sort of scared him with her like fast driving and like competence or something like. I don't know. I've heard some
Yeah.
story. So
Oh, I
maybe
like it.
that's this car. I feel like it's this car, but maybe it's not.
Wow. Fast driving in that 110, it doesn't seem like it would be, but
That's a
maybe fair
story,
enough.
Stephen. It's a story.
King
May have
Abdullah
been
something.
embellished. May
Yeah,
have
yeah.
been
May
slightly
have been
embellished.
embellished, and then, next up is the 10 slowest depreciating SUVs, from our friends at What Car? Question mark? Which is an interesting name for a publication. What Car?
That's kinda hard to
What
tell
do you
your
mean?
friends about.
What car? What car? So the number 1 slowest depreciating SUV, according to What Car, is the Lamborghini Urus, which I still feel like it sounds like a
I feel
like
like
a
I need to go in and have my Urus checked.
right? Every year it's important to have your Urus checked, if
Every
you're
year after 40, you need to have your Urus checked.
That's right. You don't want a Urus infection because that, you get a cream or something for that. But next up is the Mercedes G-Class, of course, the new Wagon. That's a very popular one. Third up is the Lotus Electra, which is, I didn't realize Lotus even made an SUV
Is
until
it an SUV? I'm looking at a photo of it, and I still can't tell that it's an SUV.
I don't, I guess it is. I mean, I would have said that was a car, but apparently that's an SUV, I guess. And then number 4 is our very own Land Rover Defender. And that's great. I mean, number 4 slowest depreciating car, Land Rover Defender. Number 5, the Mini Cooper Countryman. Again, I don't think that's an SUV. Number 6, the Range Rover. Your good old Range Rover. Now, this is the D300 Range Rover. This is obviously a European publication. So this is a diesel Range Rover, which I don't know that really helps. And then number 7, Range Rover Sport. So there you go.
This is a
Got,
hard
all
list to believe.
I
Where
can't
are they getting their
imagine,
data?
because now you've got at the end, you've got the you got the Renault Scenic E-Tech, which I don't know what that is.
I
Then
cannot imagine a world in which the Renault Scenic E-Tech is an SUV that holds its value
right?
for a long
And then
time.
number 9, the Land Rover Discovery. And then finally,
Wow.
number 10, the Tesla Model Y. I can't imagine that this list was not created by JLR. I think that's the only way. That's the only way that this list exists, is that it was was created by
Half the
SUV
list
what? Yeah.
half the list are cars. Let's
Yes.
just admit that. Half the
Half of
list
them
is
are
the
cars.
cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Half of them are cars, and the other half are Land Rovers.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Every Land Rover model is pretty well on there.
Is on there, yeah. So I just think it
Is this in a
seems
specific area? Is this like this must be UK only?
it is, yeah. This is UK. This is a UK car. What is a UK magazine, and they only rate Land Rovers, it
And
seems.
when are they determining the values for these depreciation? Is
Well,
it
if you
like
look at the article, it basically rates over top of this
is this like a
Defender.
1-month period?
It's over a 3-year period,
Okay.
and they're saying losing value from 80,000 to 40,000 pounds is not bad, I guess. That's
So
so
half the value
half the
in
value
3
in
years,
3
you said?
years. In 3
In
years,
3
yeah.
years.
In 3
Seems
years.
like a good investment. Seems like a good investment.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, if you had stock that only lost half its value in 3 years, you'd think that was great. So,
Yeah, or a house or anything,
or
really.
house or anything, any
I mean,
investment,
cars are different. Cars are, they
they're a
do
depreciating
pretty
asset.
much without
Yeah,
exception depreciate. So
that's true.
I
Until
get
they
that.
start to appreciate. You need to keep them for, like, 40 years for them to appreciate again
What else is
with
on the
your life.
list though? Like what is the competition? I don't even know.
I mean, you've just got this, you've got this Urus, you got the,
There's no Toyotas on this list. You notice
not a
that?
single Toyota, that's interesting. You've got
Kind of
no
weird, right?
Jeeps, you've got no Hondas, you've got none of that, which is just sort of interesting. These are luxury cars for sure. So first of all, I think it's fair to say, although I don't know, is that what is it, was it a Citroen or what the fuck was that
There's a
one that you
Renault.
can't get over here? Oh, a Renault, yeah. Is that a luxury car? A Renault? I don't think
It's
so.
it's it's also electric, which
Yeah.
seems like I mean, I can think of no electric devices that hold their value.
Yeah, it sort
Um
of feels like somebody's cooking the books here on this, car. What?
seems weird. Seems weird. Everything buying and owning 3 stars. Just looking at some of these reviews,
Grr. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. Well, at any rate, if you're buying
yeah.
a luxury SUV in the past 3
Yeah,
years, look at
yes.
these model cars.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the reliability category, no one of these cars gets any more than 3 stars.
Hmm.
It's just, it just does not exist. The
I feel like
reliability.
I feel like that's the key to something holding its value,
Yeah,
reliability.
exactly. And in the case of the Lamborghini Urus, it doesn't even have a reliability score. They just didn't even score it because 'cause they're like, "It just don't
Then
even worry
there's
about it."
not an example that even drives, so they can't rate it.
You can't. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. I did see. I don't know if you've seen the Lamborghini. The Porsche Dakar, the little
Okay, yeah.
off-roady Porsche.
Yeah, yeah.
Lamborghini has come out with a competitor to the Porsche Dakar. They have a
What's it called?
Lamborghini. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a Lamborghini, Dakar, and it's. I don't think they quite hit the mark. It's weird
No?
looking. No,
It's
it
weird
has.
looking.
It
Well,
has.
Lamborghini has a pretty staunch history of racing at Dakar, don't they? Oh,
Yeah,
wait, never mind.
yeah, yeah. They race those things constantly.
I have to look this up. I can't let this
It
go.
has ground clearance of 3.5 inches instead of the standard 2 millimeters.
Oh,
And
geez, look at that thing. It's like a Batmobile.
I know it's a crazy looking car, hey? And it has
I
the,
love it.
like the blow molded, like a Christmas decoration, like the blow molded Christmas decoration fenders and plastic all around the outside. It has a ski rack on the roof so you can put your tire up there. It's got little molded in like little race lights on the front and some stuff like that.
The
It's
Lamborghini Huracan Sterato.
Sterato.
Let's
Desperado.
let's rebel that thing. Let's
Yeah,
have the
right?
girls run that in the Rebel.
There you go. Rebel car. Well, speaking of the girls
The
running that in the Rebel, if you are heading out to Minnesota for
North Star Rally.
the North Star Anarch event coming up here very soon, in like, by the time this episode publishes, like in a week, you will be treated to a guest appearance, a luminary guest appearance, as Bob Steele and Jeff Aronson would put it, by none other than the Underpowered Hour's own Jenna and Liza Rebel Rally race team.
Yep,
They're gonna
it's
be
true.
there in
Team
person.
55.
Yep. Team 155, they're gonna be there in person, and they're gonna be signing babies, and it's gonna be great. So bring your baby along if you'd like it shaken or signed or whatever. And yeah, I think they're gonna do a little presentation. I heard something about they're gonna have a snow cone booth.
Shaved ice.
Shaved ice, yeah, shaved ice booth. I believe they're
Mhm.
gonna set up. I think they're going to axe throwing, maybe. I don't know. They're gonna teach axe throwing technique,
Yeah,
possibly.
they've got somebody tied to the spinning wheel, and
Yeah,
they do the axe throwing.
axe throwing, yeah. All kinds of great stuff. All kinds of great stuff they're going to have. So I'm looking
Bring
forward
your
to
baby
it.
down to have an axe thrown at it.
Yeah, Liza and Jenna will throw an axe at your baby. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. That's going to be a fun rally. There's stargazing, which I'm still looking. I unfortunately, nor Ike or I can fit that into our schedules. We've just got too much going on here. But Team 155 is going to hold down there, and they're going to capture some interviews and videos and all that sort of stuff out there
There's going to be
for
some
us.
Land Rovers, I understand.
I've been told that the event will have Land Rovers and that they will
It's a
be enjoyed.
pretty active club, Minnesota
Yeah,
club. Those
yeah,
guys put on some good events. There's going to be some food, I think. There's going to be some Land Rovers. There's going to
yep,
be some Luminaries, as you say, possibly some
yep,
shaved ice. Go check it out.
yep. I think a guy named Astro Bob or something is what Bob Till was saying. I think something like that. Astro
Astral Bob.
Gary.
Is that his alter ego, Astral Bob? He
Yeah,
just
it's just Bob
double
Seal. Yeah,
tabs of LSD. It's like, hey, look at the
exactly.
stars.
Hey,
Yeah.
look at the stars, man. He really embraces the culture of wherever these anarch events are. Remember Cowboy Bob, down in Texas? So,
Oh yeah. Had the
you know,
hat.
up in
Every time
Minnesota,
I've seen him, he's been in that hat. He really likes that.
he's true. It's really become part of his personality.
So
It's
speaking of luminaries, we just had a visit from the luminary, Mr. Michael Bishop from
yeah.
Her Majesty's or His Majesty's, excuse me, JLR.
That's right. Mr. Land Rover the Third himself, Michael Bishop, down there or up there rather in Oregon after being down here in Southern California. So,
Yeah.
what did you guys get up to up there? Did you do some Land Rovering?
Well, we had him on the show, as
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so we decided that we would have him on the trail.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we took some Land Rovers
Mm-hmm.
and we went out. I'm trying to think which Land Rovers we took. We took a 1950 80-inch.
Oh, nice.
We took a 1958 88 diesel,
Oh,
and we took a Dormobile, a
oh,
1966 Dormobile. We went and did the Noonday Wagon Road, which you, I think, went on with Mr. Bob Ives.
oh, yeah, that's a great one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a nice road, very cool. It goes up to a ghost town that's sort of abandoned, and Michael brought his son Sam,
Mm-hmm.
and they drove the 80-inch, and we went up and did the Noonday Wagon Road. So if you live in the UK, this is an activity that's very difficult, if not impossible. You can't really do stuff like that in the UK.
That's
There's
right.
not really these sorts of trails nearby unless you go up to like Scotland or
Yeah, you'd have to.
Snowdonia or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So at any rate, it's not an activity. Driving Land Rovers is difficult to do in the UK if you want to drive them off road or in neat places. So it was pretty cool. It's a classic Pacific Northwest trail, coniferous forest, very very neat. So we spent the day we did that. We had a lunch on the trail, and it was great. It was great. It was good weather and excellent conditions, I would say. Trail was, a couple technical spots, but not dangerous. Sam had really not done that sort of trail where there's, steep drop-offs and
Yes.
vistas and that sort of thing. So it was exciting. It was pretty cool. So we did that, and then we did another drive. We took some of the same Land Rovers, but we also took a 107 wagon,
Mm-hmm.
and we drove
Oh,
out to
nice.
the Oregon coast. And we stopped at Kentucky Falls, which is another classic Pacific Northwest hike. Again, coniferous forest, but big waterfalls. There's 3 waterfalls on this hike, and I think they're over 120 feet. So hiked down the waterfalls, did some swimming. It was great. It was great. We went out to the beach. We flew some kites. We did some stuff. And then we had a dinner reservation at a place called Dueling Spoons. And
Oh.
it's this Irish chef who's bought an old gas station of all places,
Uh-huh.
cleared out all the Doritos and snacks and all that stuff. And kind of made like a little bit of a fine dining establishment kind of out in the country.
Oh. Okay.
It's kind of an interesting spot, and he and his family run the place. So it's like your waiter is his son and the hostess is his wife and so on and so forth. So everybody that works there is kind of like in the family, and it was great. It was great. So we had a nice meal there, and then Michael I took him back to the airport, which is in Portland, and he got kind of waylaid. In fact, I think
Oh, no.
he may still be in Portland because
Oh,
there was
yes.
this internet outage, and
Oh,
it
no.
affected his airline more than any other business, I guess. So Delta
Oh,
Airlines had to
no.
ground a lot of their flights, and he got stuck. So that was a little
Oh,
unfortunate, but I think they used yesterday to sort of hike around Portland and see some stuff.
see some stuff, yeah.
Other than that, I think they had a great trip when they were here.
Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, after we did the podcast that exact afternoon, actually, we took out the 80-inch, the 51 80-inch, and the yellow Series 1 wagon, and we went and did a trail called the Tool Divide, and then took the Hughes Lake truck trail and went up to Hughes Lake, and similar sort of thing. We also took the brand new 21 Defender, and funny enough, there were several spots along that trail where we had to really pick a real specific line for the Defender to get through because it is very big and
It's
very
big.
heavy.
Yeah.
And it is a tricky bit. Thankfully, Liza expertly navigates it through there. So it's no big deal. She's very used to driving that car and no problem. She can easily get it through there. If we had to, we could have thrown a max track on an edge or something. Because again, it is a very, very narrow trail. And, we don't want that giant truck rolling down the side of a hill. But the funny thing is the little Series 1s, no problems at all. We literally don't even
Go
think
right
about it.
through.
Yeah,
Well,
you just drive it right through.
those trails were probably cut with those old cars, right? Like
Yeah,
they're
exactly. Yeah, so you don't even think about
probably
it. You just drive them right through, and it's pretty funny to see of course, the new Defender can get through it. No question it can. The computers and everything just make it work. But you have to think about it. You have to make sure that you're checking where all your tires are and that you're on your game because if you lose focus for a second, you've got a wheel sliding down a hill or something. Whereas with the 80-inch, you don't even really think about it. You just sort of drive through it because it's half the width of the trail. So
yeah.
you don't really think about it. But no, we had a great time all the way up to Lake Hughes, which is at about, what does it end up at? I think about 6,800 feet or something. And, good times. It was very, very hot. It was about 100 degrees the whole time. But, the little cars just poke along just fine. The human beings, not so much, but the cars are just fine. But we, just rolled all the sides up on the 80-inch and that was just fine. And obviously the Defender has very modern air conditioning and it was just fine. And inside of the wagon, it was like an easy bake oven. It was just had a couple ice packs just shoved into my crotch and I was just doing the
Oof.
best that I could. It was okay.
Don't post any pictures of that if you wouldn't mind.
No, but those ice packs are available on the Underpowered Hour stores, memorabilia. If anybody is interested in picking those up as a little souvenir, I'll sign them and we can add those to your collection if anybody's interested. It was nice though. We had a good time. Had a really good time, and yeah, Sam and Coop switched between the vehicles for most of the morning before they just got too hot, and then just sat in the back of the Defender. So. And then it was to Mike and I to just plug along in the super hot cars. And then we switched cars halfway, and Mike drove the wagon and I drove the 80-inch, and it was quite nice. It's actually was significantly cooler in the 80-inch. I was glad to switch into the open air car.
A little bit more ventilation, I suppose.
Yeah, it was. I didn't mind the sun hitting me so much because there was all that airflow. So it was actually quite nice. But yeah, it just goes to show you those 75-year-old cars, man, they just barrel through there like nobody's business. Not even a care.
Well, it was really nice of him to take the time to visit us. It was great to get little history lessons on various aspects of Land Rovers and Land Rover history. So thanks to those guys for taking the time to come out and visit.
Yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, anytime. Hopefully we'll have him back here soon. We've had a real cavalcade of celebrity Land Rover folks here through the old workshop down here at the Beres collection. We've had
Well, what does that
Dimbleby,
say about
Bishop.
you? Birds of a feather.
I know. I guess that's it. Yeah. It's pretty fun. Well, speaking of super slow vehicles driving around the workshop here, it's finally happened.
What's happened?
I bought a new forklift.
No.
Yeah, it was time.
No.
It was time
You got rid of the Widowmaker.
the Widowmaker's gone, and it was time to invest in an actual, like, real working forklift because up to this point, I've always sort of thought, like, listen, I don't need a real forklift. Like, what do I
Yeah.
need a real forklift for, right? I'm just some asshole with a car collection. I don't need like actual working things. So I've had maybe 3 shitty old forklifts bought off of Craigslist or whatever that barely work. And, Chris and I end up rebuilding the engine in it, and it sort of works for a while, and then it blows a head gasket or it does something. And, we end up sort of fighting with it as much as we use it. And this time
That's
the
a
decision
sign
was
of a
made.
good forklift.
Yeah, it's a good forklift, right? Yeah, where you constantly like it's leaking, it's
Hydraulic
leaking
fluid
fuel or
everywhere.
something. Oh yeah, God, it's just everything. Yeah. But this time This is a real forklift. It's a Crown electric forklift, and oh man, is it nice. Super nice.
What's the weight capacity on that forklift?
6,000 pounds.
So you can
It's a
pick
good
up something that's 6,000 pounds. So the
You can
forklift
pick
probably
up something.
weighs 12 or
It is
13,000 pounds, something like that.
12,000, yeah, 11,850 pounds. It's
Yeah.
a big boy. It's a big boy.
So what do you have that you're going to pick up with it? Well, you can
Two
pick
80
anything up
inches.
with it. Two 80
Two
inches
80
at the same time,
at the same time. Yeah,
chained
well, I don't
together.
know if you yeah, have you seen Tom Pickford's the way that he stores his 80 inches? He stores them on, like, military racks and just stacks them
Little
on top of
frame.
each other. Yeah, the little frame, yeah. It's a good
Nice.
densified 80-inch storage. It's a good
Yeah,
I
just
might
get one
start
down
doing
when
that.
you want to when you want to drive it.
Yeah, I could do 2 at a time,
S-
just to move them
So
around.
I've been in the same boat. I've had some very inexpensive forklifts. Perhaps my favorite was the Crosley forklift that I used to
Mm.
own. It was like a World War II vintage
Mhm,
forklift,
mhm.
and it was used for like warehousing and distribution in World War II. Which, man, those poor guys just running a gas forklift in a
Yeah.
warehouse, that must have been really amazing.
Yeah.
But then it was retired from the military, and it spent most of its working life in an orchard
Oh,
in
neat.
Oregon, just moving apple crates
Yeah.
full of apples. And if you've seen one of these Crosley forklifts or you're familiar with Crosleys in general, Crosley was a manufacturer that made very small engines,
Yep.
1 liter essentially, and about 40 horsepower, which is really a good power to weight ratio at one time. And the engines were kind of designed as like an airplane engine to be
Yeah.
constructed out of like flat plates and tubes and sort of brazed or soldered or welded together. And you would have like the negative space was the coolant passages in this motor.
Mhm.
It's really interesting engine, and Powell Crosley sort of spearheaded the effort to build these engines, and they were later made of cast iron and put into small cars and small forklifts and industrial applications. And they're a fascinating little footnote in American automobile and engineering history. But I had one of these forklifts that had this engine in it. So it's a very small forklift. It's like maybe a 2,000 pound
Mhm.
forklift, maybe a
Just a little guy,
1,500
yeah.
pound forklift, just a
Yeah.
little guy, and 3 wheels with cable steering,
Ooh.
and is built in probably 44, 45, so it's
Yeah.
sort of towards the end of the war. So it's like a 80-year-old forklift with 3 wheels. That's
Yeah.
has no safety equipment at all, no roll bar, no nothing really, and it would only pick up to like 8, maybe 10 feet. 8 or
Yeah.
10 feet was all
Yeah.
the higher that it would go, like single stage mast.
Mhm.
And it had like fork extensions that were like 10 feet long.
Right?
And this thing had been like totally abused. So I went up to this apple orchard in Oregon, and these people, it was just like a sort of a U-pick apple orchard sort of
Mhm.
affair. And these people had this tiny little forklift advertised on Craigslist for $500.
Yeah.
And I was like, if that thing runs, I'll definitely buy it. And this is like before I had a shop. I was like working out of my garage and
Mhm.
like trying to muscle engines around and all
Yeah.
this heavy stuff, milling machines and whatever. And I was like, it's stronger than I am, and if it runs, I'll buy it. So I went up there and I made a deal with them, and I'm like loading this thing up, and they've replaced it with another used forklift, like a Mitsubishi or something like that. And as
Yeah.
I'm leaving, they're trying to get the Mitsubishi started, and they can't. And this 80-year-old forklift just started right up, and I was really proud of the little guy. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they ever got it running,
Got
but
it running, yeah.
I
Yeah.
had I had that forklift for years, used it a lot, picked up all kinds of stuff with it, chassis and engines and everything. And then I sold it to like a Crosley collector for like $1,000.
Yep.
Man, I still
Made
have
money on that thing.
fond memories of that little forklift. It was the cutest little thing. It's probably the coolest looking, like deco streamlined
Yeah.
little forklift that they ever made. It's just a neat thing. Anyway, had to
Yep.
relay that fond memories of that little forklift, and then I had to replace it with a bigger forklift, and so now I have just a relatively boring heister. Actually,
Yeah,
I have two of the same model, but
just the heister. Yeah, we had the same model. This one I actually found, it was serendipitous because it was only about 5 blocks away from the workshop.
Hmm. I'll be
And
damned.
yeah, because I'm constantly looking for a new forklift as unfortunately the Widowmaker left this world. I've had this. I traded some crazy Russians for. I actually don't think they were Russian, but I traded some Eastern Europeans for a like manual forklift thing, which is been a nightmare. And so this the day that I got it, I immediately started looking for a new forklift because I
Yeah, that
traded
sounds
them.
like a really bad trade. Why would you
Oh,
do
it was
that?
terrible. It was terrible. Now, to be fair, the Widowmaker didn't run at all anymore, and so I don't know. Anyways, whatever. It was a terrible trade, and so I've been looking since that day for a new forklift. And this one ended up being about 5 blocks away. Now, it was way more money than I wanted to spend on a forklift. It was way
Uh-huh.
nicer than I thought I needed for a forklift. I mean, this is not an old forklift. This is only a couple of years old, but
Yeah.
I think it's 3 years old or something. It was one of those things where it just kind of felt like it was meant to be. And so, I made
So
the deal, and I basically just got to assume this guy's lease to own. Like I didn't really actually pay anything for it. So it was a great deal. And then came moving it to the workshop. And, so I
you
reached
didn't
out
just
to
drive
a
it? You didn't just
well,
drive it 5
I
blocks?
reached out to an equipment handling company, and they said, "Yeah, it's $800." And I said, "Well, it's 5 blocks away." And they said, "It doesn't matter. It's $800 loading, unloading, all that sort of shit." And I said, "No, no, I'm not doing that. There's no way." So yeah, so we just drove it the five
Yeah,
blocks from the old. It
why
took
not?
it, took 25 minutes or something, but that was
So
great. It was a nice drive.
I'm always I'm always nervous buying an electric forklift because, usually when people sell an electric forklift, it's because the batteries no longer take a
Right.
charge or they need to be replaced or something. And the batteries in an electric forklift are a lot of the ballast sometimes,
Basically
and
the cost of the forklift.
they often cost more than the
Yeah.
value of the
Yeah.
forklift.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess yours is pretty recent, but yeah, that's always the trick of buying an
That's the
older
trick.
electric forklift.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful. This one just happens to still be under a maintenance program with Crown, so they come every 3 months and they make sure the batteries are serviced and all of that sort of business. But yeah, you gotta be super careful with electric forklifts because those batteries are the value of the forklift, essentially.
Oh
The
yeah.
forklift itself is pretty inexpensive compared to the batteries, and depending on old battery operated forklifts, the charger for the batteries was often three-phase and was literally the size of the forklift as well. So you would
Yeah.
need this giant three-phase
Space.
ballast charger that you would have to have space for to plug in and everything. Modern forklifts don't need that anymore. They're just a little 208, charger that plugs into it's not very big. It's the size of a microwave or something. It's not bad anymore. But back in the day, if you're buying one from the 90s, they were humongous and you needed a forklift to move the charger for the forklift. So if your
This is
forklift
a
was out
problem.
of battery, it's like it
That's
was a chicken and an egg thing.
Somebody offered to give me well, they offered to sell it to me first. They were like, "Do you want a forklift?" And I went and looked at it, and it was an older electric forklift, and I was like, I don't think so. They were like moving, and they were like, "We just got to get rid of this thing. Give us anything for it." And I was like, "Yeah, I can't." They were like, "How about $500?" And I was like, "Nah, I can't do it." And then they called me a day later, and they were like, "How about $100?" I
Oh,
was like,
just take it.
"No." And then they were like, I literally take $50 for it. And I was like, "Nah, I can't." And they were like, "Tell you what, we'll pay you $100 to get it." Yeah, but I
Yeah,
felt
it's
bad
one of
for them.
those things. No, the propane forklift, you never have to worry about how you'll fuel it. It is an
Yeah.
engine. You just work on it like any other engine.
And engines that have run propane usually are very clean inside. They're much
Yeah,
cleaner than gasoline motors.
yeah, and they're
They
very,
don't
very
have all that
simple.
soot. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
cool.
Usually forklift motors are single cylinder or the worst double cylinder engines. They're really easy to work on. They're
Oh,
mostly,
my
yeah.
forklift is like a 4.3 liter V6.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Oh, take that thing on a road trip.
you can. You
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big
It's like a
forklift. Well, you have a
Chevy.
very big forklift, though. That's a very big forklift.
It's a Chevy motor,
Yeah,
just,
that's a big
this
guy.
thing's easy to service and it's, like,
Yeah.
bulletproof. The
Yeah.
only problem is mine was used in a rubber factory for a long time, so it has
Oh.
all this, like, kinda rubber dust under it, and,
Oh, interesting.
it's not it's like, if you have to work on that forklift, you're gonna
Yeah.
get, like, covered in black, like, rubbery
Black
stuff
rubber dust. Yeah. Yeah.
from
That is the
underneath it.
crazy thing about this forklift. This forklift is spotlessly clean which I've never
Lucky.
experienced from a forklift before. Like it's new, so it's clean, which is just odd. It just feels weird.
It's got that new forklift smell.
It's got that new forklift smell. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And because it's electric, right? It doesn't have any like engine like oil or exhaust or anything. So it's like
It's quiet.
also clean. It's nothing. It's silent. But like an electric
That's
vehicle,
probably not good. I thought those were mandated to have some sort of noise. Does it have a backup alarm or anything?
Yeah, it beeps when it backs up, but otherwise it's totally silent. But it also like it moves like an electric car. So like if you're drag racing with it, it goes like it's super fast, which is also very dangerous. So you got to put it. You got to keep it in turtle mode. You don't want to put it in hare because it fucking goes. So yeah. So it's only a matter of time until I put the forks through a car now. Not because the parking brake doesn't work, but because I've accidentally put it in turtle and I just drive it through a car. So, yeah. So severe damage to a vehicle will be incurred with this forklift as well, but not because of the brakes this time. It does have an automatic parking brake. So as soon as you let off the gas and it comes to a stop, the parking brake goes on automatically. So.
Well, if you are shopping for a forklift, check out Stephen Beres's Guide to Forklift Purchasing. Available on
10-part series.
The Underpowered Hour YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Speaking of the YouTube channel, head on over there. We've got lots of great stuff going up there. Ooh, a new video going up on wiring and adding new lithium batteries to our camping trailer. So if you want to, see more about the Vorshear camping trailer that we have, a little company up there in Utah that makes great little pull behind off-road camping trailers. We upgraded to a Kick-Ass, literally the name of the company, an Australian company.
For future insurance investigations, this will be a good resource to determine exactly the cause of the fire.
The fire, yeah, exactly. So check that out. That's up there. And if you want to join the old Patreon, that's still on there as well. We really appreciate that support. It's hugely helpful. Lets us bring this wonderful, whatever this thing is, to you week after week. Like Bob Steele, like Tyler, like all of our other fantastic patrons. We appreciate it very much. And we would
thank you very much.
Always recommend that, you think twice about supporting us, but once you do, we really do appreciate it. We know you have other podcasts that you could support, and we appreciate you choosing this one. So at any rate, that's it for this week. And with any luck, we'll be back again next week, as we are every week. Until then, we'll see you next week.
See you on the trail, Stephen.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.